If you need reasons to believe in God, you've come to the right place. Oh wait, I mean the wrong place. This is the place you go if you want proof that Christians are delusional. Because, yeah, this one's a doozy. Every now and then, I run into one of these mindless videos, a list of reasons why people ought to believe in God, set to some annoying music on some dead drop channel that nobody cares about, because, let's be honest, it's just litter on the pathways of YouTube. But I wanted to examine their supposed proofs and show why 100% of them are false, and why you'd have to be a real idiot to believe in this imaginary friend of theirs. But unfortunately, there's a lot of real idiots out there, aren't there? So, here we go. Well, there's a claim. Now, how about you prove that your claim is true? Because until you can provide evidence, this is just an empty assertion. How is this any different than my claiming that invisible, intangible, universe-creating pixies created us in their own image? Is that going to convince you of anything? No? Why not? Well, people haven't died because you don't come back from death. You're kind of dead. People have come back from near death, and we are learning more about how the brain operates, which increasingly makes a lot of these experiences better understood. For instance, we have reason to think that increased CO2 in the bloodstream is the cause of the white light and tunnel effect. It's also known that a lack of oxygen in the brain causes hallucinations. It has also been observed that in near-death patients, excessive levels of serotonin and other brain chemicals are released, causing feelings of comfort and warmth. There's no reason to think there's anything supernatural about any of it. It's just brain chemistry at work. Alright, exactly which hole did you yank that one out of? This is just completely made up. Nowhere in the Bible does it ever directly mention dinosaurs. But hey, if it makes you feel good, why not believe it? It doesn't actually have to make any sense. The religious are just out of their minds. Again, where did that come from? It's just a bald assertion, not supported by anything but wishful thinking. How do you know that any of that is true? How do you link creating a universe with unique DNA? And let's be honest, the fact is, your DNA isn't necessarily unique. Identical twins have the same genetic code. But if we look at how many possible combinations we can get from our DNA, it comes out to about 420 billion different variations. That means that there's a 1 in 420 billion chance that your DNA is exactly the same as someone else's. That's not necessarily unique. For all you know, there could have been an exact copy of you somewhere in history. It's not out of the realm of possibilities. So, not only is this just a bald assertion, it's completely wrong. Again, that's not really the case. The chances of two people having the same fingerprint has been calculated to 1 in 64 billion. But that doesn't make it impossible. Somewhere, sometime, it has to happen. And in fact, it has been found to have happened several times. There was a murder case in Spain where it was discovered that another man in the United States had the same fingerprint that was found at the crime scene. Now, obviously, other evidence linked the killer in Spain to the crime, but the two fingerprints were indistinguishable by a computer. The strength of fingerprint identification is that it is so absurdly unlikely that any two people, especially any two people in the same area, might have the same fingerprint that we've decided that it is sufficient to identify an individual conclusively. That doesn't mean that it's not possible, only that it's extremely unlikely. The ozone layer does not keep the air in. It absorbs the sun's ultraviolet radiation. If you don't even understand that, you've got some worse problems than I thought. The reason the atmosphere stays put, for the most part, is due to gravity, although some of it does leak off into space. It's why Mars no longer has an atmosphere, because its gravity is far less than that of Earth. Honestly, the scientific ignorance of the religious is just astonishing. That's not really true, sorry. The air you breathe in is about 20% oxygen, and the air you breathe out is about 15% oxygen, meaning the oxygen that your body actually uses is only about 5%. The amount of oxygen in the atmosphere is far more than we actually need. We also know that the amount of oxygen has changed pretty dramatically over the billions of years that the planet has existed. But what the religious don't want to realize, because they're delusional, is that we evolved to take advantage of the conditions that exist. The conditions don't exist because of us. We're the puddle that fits in the hole, not the other way around. Yeah, no, sorry, you're wrong. There's a Goldilocks zone around the sun where liquid water can survive. Currently, both Earth and Mars fall inside that zone, but at one point, Venus did as well. There are tons of exoplanets that we've discovered, and we discover about 200 planets a year these days, that also fall into the Goldilocks zone of their stars. Earth could easily move a little bit and still be suitable for life. Again, we evolved to fit the conditions, not the other way around. Why is that even a thing? Why is that on the list? I mean, yes, the planet does rotate. But all planets rotate, because that's how planetary dynamics work. But if this is all just to give us a day and night cycle, why is God rotating Mars? Who is he giving a night and a day to there? Are they really this stupid? That's because humans evolved here. That doesn't make this the only planet that sustains any kind of life. Scientists think it's possible that life exists on other planets in this very solar system. Moons like Europa and Enceladus are likely candidates for life to have evolved, and outside of the solar system, it's statistically absurd to think that there isn't something out there, especially given the number of Earth-like planets that we're discovering. So, this is just another dumb statement. Well, that's the claim, but it's a completely unsupported claim, especially since we know that the Bible was written anonymously by people who were almost certainly not eyewitnesses to anything Jesus ever did, if Jesus ever existed in the first place. The Jesus described in the Bible, the miracle-doing man-God, is absolutely not real, and the miracles have no evidence whatsoever to support them. Faith is not impressive, sorry. That's not how mythology works, sorry. I mean, there are claims of miracles throughout the world's mythologies, and Christians don't think those happened. Why do you think we're going to believe yours? The Quran says Muhammad rode off to heaven on the back of a winged horse. Do you think that happened? Why should we think any of your crap is real? Zero evidence outside of stories written decades after the supposed event, by people who absolutely were not witnesses, in accounts that don't even agree with each other. I'm not sure why this is supposed to be impressive. There are so many absurd problems with these ideas that they have to be accepted on blind faith because there are no facts, no evidence, no credible, objectively verifiable ways to evaluate them, that you'd have to be a fool to take any of it seriously. And Christians are far too often proud to be fools. That doesn't make any sense at all. Let's take words and arbitrarily redefine them as meaning things that they simply don't mean because you want them to mean that. That's not how words work. That's not how any of this works. You say, go do these things and shut off your brain and you'll become delusional. And that's about as far as we're going to go with this absurd video because I can't take it anymore. From here, it just goes into a bunch of mindless preaching, and I've already proven that 100% of their claimed proofs are just wrong. They're just empty assertions, based on wishful thinking and blind faith, presented without evidence, and often in complete contradiction to the evidence because it makes them feel good to believe false things. Now, I know these channels are a dime a dozen. Nobody pays any attention to them because they just throw up the same empty nonsense, usually just 1 or 2 videos before the channel gets abandoned. But I think it's important to recognize just how intellectually empty it all is. Any Christians out there who look at this and think these are great reasons to believe in their imaginary friend, these people are idiots. They are completely out of their minds. It isn't hard to look up any of these claims online and debunk them entirely, but the religious don't care. They couldn't care less if what they believe is nonsense. It feels good, and because it does, they go with it. And that makes them not only delusional, it makes them morons. I trust nobody is surprised.